First off, congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
Obviously, we've had a season one already, which was a huge success. Now a season two. Were you aware of the show beforehand, or was that kind of a catalyst for you to want to be in the second season?
I know I was aware of the first one because in Italy was a big hit. So when they talk about making the second one and they opened the auditions, I was like, okay, I'm interested. Can I have an audition as well? And I will, and here we go. And I'm here, and I got it.
Fantastic. We just spoke to Bradley, and he was saying that the show itself, there's so much kind of realness to it and a rawness to it because you shot on real locations
Yeah.
and everything else. I mean, for you as an actress, how was it being? Because it must have felt like you were in Florence back in that time.
Well, I think it's a big plus when you can have this possibility to actually walk in the same street or kind of the same street, at least the same time, because we didn't worked in Florence for the all obviously for the old show, because Florence is 2019, so you can't really walk there and pretend that you're in the 1500. But we've been working in other places like Pienza, Montepulciano, where around there everything was exactly what it was at the period of the time of the Medici. So it was a really big plus because it's not a studio. You don't hear the echo of your voice, but you actually there. And I think it's maybe one of the things that makes this show so, unique. You know.
Yeah. What was it about your character? I mean, we've seen bits of her in the first episode, the relationship that she has, and where that's going to go. I mean, what was it about her when you read the script for the first time that you thought, yeah, this is someone I really want to play?
Because it's a woman that at the beginning is really the center of Lorenzo's life. She's not just the lover, she's like the confidant, the best friend, sort of a mother. She's a little bit older than him, but she believes in him, maybe more than what he believes in himself as well. But it's not a typical love story in sneaky love story. You know, it's a really strong relationship. And I never played a role where a woman, and not even maybe in my personal life now, stepped back so much when she realized that the future of him is something else with somebody else. So it was a really big challenge for me to play a role where actually not a lot of people will love, because at the beginning she's in the middle, she's kind of like the love, and then she's in the middle of a marriage and they start off falling in love and she's still there because she loves him before. So it's a really controversial character, and it was really interesting to play something completely different, since I never play this kind of character, so it was like a big challenge for me.
Yeah. And then how was it working with Daniel? I mean, he's the kind of catalyst of the show, if you like. He's at the peak. I mean, the two characters and you two as actors have a great relationship in that first episode. I mean, it must have been great to explore the relationship with him, and because you have such great chemistry.
Well, thank you for the chemistry. It was really interesting because obviously I didn't know him personally, but as always, when you do when you do a show like 6 months long, you have the first day on set love scenes. So for us, it was like, oh my gosh, really, the first day we have to do that? And so maybe it was the best thing to do. So we had like literally 48 hours just shooting love scenes. It was a bit weird thing, but he was a really great gentleman and an amazing companion. He's a great colleague. So we worked together a lot, and we talk about the relationship. We didn't want it to feel just physical, you know. It was a little bit more than that, and we wanted to show a little bit more than that. So I hope that you can actually feel it.
It's a huge production. Obviously now with Netflix involved, it's going to be seen in countless countries around the world, that countries that may not have been able to see it at any other point. I mean, how does that feel to be in something that's going to be seen by so many people around the world?
It's spectacular. I mean, it's amazing how now the world it becomes so small, and I really hope that it's gonna be big in Netflix as well, that people are gonna watch it, because I'm Italian and I really love that the culture of my country is gonna be like known from everybody, like from everywhere in the world, obviously, because I'm really proud of my country. So it's not just mafia or stuff like that. We have also like culture, and it's a big culture. So I'm really proud of that, and I'm really curious to see and to feel what's gonna happen after. What's the feedbacks, what's going, if they're gonna like it or not. I don't know.
talking to some of the cast and some of the creators about this show. I mean, as an actress, what was it about the script and the story and the character that kind of spoke to you when you first got involved?
For me, I feel like going into this period was quite important in like choosing this role. So the only part I played before was a very contemporary young girl in Edinburgh, and I just really wanted the opportunity to sort of dive into this period and think about things that you just don't think about when you're discussing like a contemporary part. So from like the way that you hold yourself to the way that you present certain things or language and all of these things were very exciting for me.
Cool. Your character, obviously we haven't seen him in the first episode, but there's lots more to come. I mean, the relationship between the two characters, and you said before about they get married and everything else. I mean, what was it like playing that relationship with Daniel? Because we haven't seen you quite yet, but how was that to kind of play with him?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's different because I've never been married off before to somebody, so it's quite a unique, like it's being set up in an arranged marriage where you're literally forced to be together for your life. There was no way out at this point in time, so it was like quite a fundamental relationship for the whole 2 series that we've done. But yeah, Daniel's great. Working with Daniel was great, and yeah, we've become really good friends. So.
How is it for an actor to know that you're making not just 1 season but making 2 seasons, that you get to spend a lot of time with a character? Because obviously in films you spend a certain amount of time, whereas in this you get a lot of room to manoeuvre. I mean, is that kind of liberating that you get to do that?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like the scope of time that you have. I feel like even just in 2 years you change so much as a person. So like starting out doing this job to finishing, 2 years later, you change so much in yourself and in your own understanding of your work and what you're doing and how you're progressing in your career and your life, especially at my age, I think. So I think that was really important to like what I brought to the character as well. So, but yeah, as you say, like working, you do a film and you shoot it in 8 weeks or whatever, and doing this for like 4 months over the course of 2 years. So like, basically living in Rome for 2 years on and off was you can grow so much, I think, because of the time allows you that, and you're getting so much more into the depths of these people and their lives. Like we cover their whole lives. So like, I think my character, I play her until she's into her 40s with kids that are. One of the actors playing my son is the same age as me, so it's like the scope of what you're doing is so much bigger. It's really exciting.
Yeah. A great thing I've loved about the show so far is that you film on real locations. You're actually in Italy and in these places that existed. I mean, that must have been great that you weren't going into a studio and into using green screen, all that kind of stuff, that you were really feeling kind of the ground underneath you, so to speak.
Yeah, we shot in a studio for a bit, so we shot some of the inside stuff in a studio, but that is like the difference that it makes when you're going into like a real palace in Italy, like looking out across Tuscany, and that's where these people actually spent their time. That does something to the set and to the atmosphere that was like really amazing. But yeah, we had to do both, obviously, but yeah, definitely the locations fed into it, like the storytelling a lot.
Yeah. I can imagine there's a young actor named Sean Bean rings to so many different roles, obviously Game of Thrones more recently. I mean, what was it like working with him? Because he's done so many amazing roles and so many people just want to work with him.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. I was like I hadn't really worked with anyone like really famous before, so I was kind of like, oh god, this is a bit scary. But no, he's so nice, and he's such a nice guy, and just very calm and quiet, and he's had such an amazing career. So I was just really like grateful to be working alongside him. It's cool.
And obviously with this show, you've got someone like Netflix involved, who's such a big presence in media these days, that this will be shown in so many countries that may not have ever been able to see it. I mean, how does that feel that you're going to be seen by so many people in so many different places around the world?
It's kind of hard to tell, and like it's hard to. I think sometimes it occasionally hits me, like when the last TV show I did, Clique, like getting people write to you and they're like, oh, like seen your show in Jerusalem, or like, oh, I'm watching from Australia. And that's quite exciting, because when you do it, I just almost forget that it like goes out and people watch it. But it's nice to know that I don't know, that so many people are being able to, if they want to watch it, then they can. So it's exciting.
Well, first off, congratulations on the show.
Thanks, mate.
It is a pretty huge endeavour from everybody involved.
Yeah.
Just go back to the beginning and tell us, in terms of you getting involved and reading the script for the first time, what was it about this particular project that spoke to you?
You get sent a script, you read a few, and it's not always that they kind of I suppose bounce inside you internally. And I read Julian and I thought, oh, this guy looks like a lot of fun. He gets to, kiss the girls and have fights and go to Italy. So there were lots of positive aspects to this project, and it would mean that I got to experience Italy, and so everything about it seemed to provide a lot of positives.
With a show like this, I can imagine with a movie you only get a certain amount of time with a character. With this, you get 8 episodes. Potentially, there's obviously the 3rd season as well has already been picked up. As an actor, how liberating is that to have so much time with a character that you get to delve maybe a little bit deeper than you perhaps would in a film?
I think nowadays, television's constantly evolving. We're all, as a society, constantly evolving. As an audience, we're demanding more, and so for that reason, you get more, I think, truthful, in-depth tellings of characters. I think we're just more. I think an audience demands that. And avenues like Netflix have kind of opened up things to kind of be a bit more creative. They are not sort of beholden to networks or what have you. And so when people are writing now, I feel like they're given just more of an opportunity to write sort of bolder characters. And of course, over the sort of stretch of 8 episodes, as you say, you get to develop that little bit more, as opposed to kind of have that 90-minute, 2-hour presentation of a character. You also get the advantage that you're working with people who sort of become family, and those relationships develop as well. And over the course of filming for sort of 6 months, you develop a rapport with your other actors that you might not get on a film set that you're doing for 2 or 3 months. So there's a great advantage to it, which is also potentially it's a bit more enjoyable sometimes as well because of that aspect.
Yeah, there's a real kind of raw edge to we just watched the first episode. A real raw edge that comes from the fact that you've shot on real locations, that you do all the stunts are real, and there's no kind of CGI trickery. There might be a little bit, but you get the sense that there is a raw edge to it. As an actor, when you're put in that world, and it must feel like you're really in that world rather than on a green screen, for example.
Yeah, the advantage of being in, I think, Montepulciano was mentioned earlier. Montepulciano is this tiny little town right on top of a hill, and you point the camera in any direction, and you've got Renaissance Italy. And so even when the cameras are turned off and you're walking around, you're immersed in that world, and you're not having to do any work. I'm about to go and do something that's all green screen, and the difference from actually being in the time period, being in the world, to making your imagination create everything that's going to happen. You're getting so much for free from your surroundings, which in today's day and age is tougher because of, as you say, things like CGI becoming kind of increasingly more prevalent.
Yeah, I had on me but no idea that the first show was so successful. They got picked up in so many countries, and now this one, and then almost kind of unprecedented that you were doing the 3rd season pretty much straight away, and you had that kind of commission. That must have been great for you as actors to know that you were going back, to know that there was more story to tell almost immediately, because it's only there's so few shows that get that opportunity.
Well, as you mentioned, it certainly had a massive success in Italy, and I think that's then driven it to further fields. And in terms of that knowledge of knowing that there's going to be that progression to another series, I think that probably comes after you've done the job for a bit and you gauge your experience on it. And thankfully, I mentioned, not for people watching this, but I mentioned the fact that you must get sick of hearing actors say, "I had such a good time here. It's such fun doing it." You're like, "Oh, well done. You had a good time somewhere else. Oh, we're so happy for you." But we really did, and so because of that, it makes the idea of working. I mean, I say the word working like it is hard work, but it that dissipates when you're enjoying it so much. I think that's probably, you can say that for any job. I think if you're enjoying it, you're not. What's that saying? You don't have to work a day in your life if you enjoy your work.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, so I think, once we kind of got to grips with each other and knew what we were all about and started to experience the enjoyable side of it, I think people were like, oh, we get to do this again afterwards as well. Fantastic.
Yeah. And just finally, for you as an actor, obviously I know you were in Merlin and now you've done this. I mean, do you have a plan in mind for where you'd like to go next, or are you just enjoying kind of taking each job as it comes?
Well, I've been very fortunate with the projects that I've done, that they've all sort of provided excitement for me. They've given me a buzz. I haven't had to, motivate myself externally out of the project, because the project itself has always provided something for me. And so, funnily enough, I had a conversation last night as to whether I can talk about the next one, which, disappointingly, I can't. All I can say is what I've just said. I'm not even sure I should have said that, but it's all on green screen, and I'm going off to do that next month. Again, it's a project that the second I picked up the script, I went, this is amazing, I want to do this. And I've been lucky in that regard, because the parts I've had have sort of had that effect on me, to varying degrees. Like, there are some that you're just up here, and then some are like, oh, that's interesting, I quite like to do that. So I'm very fortunate. I'm one of the lucky actors out there who's been doing fun stuff in his career.
Yeah. First off, huge congratulations on the success of both shows, and a third season coming as well.
Yes.
That's a luxury that not many people get. Does that give you added pressure, kind of making this one and making the third one so quickly?
No, you're absolutely right. It's a real luxury to know you've got the third season before the second season has even been broadcast. The scary part is you don't know how the audience responded to the second season, and yet you're proceeding with the third and writing it and shooting it. But it was a great luxury, primarily because I could see the whole sweep of these characters and where they go, and it's quite a saga. And you look at Lorenzo's journey from this first episode in season 2 to where he goes at the end of next season, and it's an incredible journey for an audience and for an actor. And it's funny because this is a young cast. Lorenzo's only 20 when he takes over the family, so we cast by and large young actors, but they seem so much older now. By the end of this series, what they've gone through, it just feels like they've been through wars. So
what was the catalyst for you as a writer? I know you've been involved with The X-Files and Man in High Castle and lots of other stuff. I mean, what was the catalyst for you with this particular story that you thought this would make for a great series?
Well, I have to say, in the beginning, I was just really surprised that anybody would think of me, that they would think to even ask me to do a historical drama. And I'm not really a consumer of costume dramas. It's not what I look for. And I thought, well, this will be an interesting challenge, and I'd like to try and make something that I would watch, even though I don't watch costume dramas. And why would I watch this? And so with my co-writer, Nicholas Meyer, we came up with this conspiracy thriller, really. Who killed Giovanni de Medici, which was the first season. Who killed Dustin Hoffman. And the theme of that first series was doing bad to do good, right? That's how they justified what they did. And now with this generation, Lorenzo de Medici, the theme has become trying to do good to do good. But he's a young man who comes to power in a world that's completely dysfunctional, and his generation wants it to be a better world. And so he's got these convictions that he wants to be better. And we will see just how difficult that is, because the world doesn't reward good intentions, and it's really heartbreaking in many ways, because you come to love him and his family, and you see the cost they pay for trying to live by their ideals.
Yeah. You say with costume genres, I mean, there's quite a lot of them now, lots of films, lots of TV, but they're so prevalent in very many ways that they kind of history repeating itself in that modern day. You see a lot of that in the past. I mean, was that something as a writer you wanted to try and make sure that you brought to the fore, that all these themes that are relevant to today were on the screen?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think anybody watches these shows to be educated. You watch it to be entertained. And so there's so much rich history in this story, and it was really like sifting through it to find the bits that were going to be most relevant and meaningful to a modern audience, because you want to watch this and see yourself and understand why this means something to you today. And I found in the Medici saga it was really, especially this chapter with Lorenzo as a young man in this dysfunctional world, it's like echoes of what's happening right now in the world. Just pick up the newspapers or look online. It feels like we're in a very troubled time, and a younger generation wants its voice to be heard, but there's entrenched forces that are fighting back against that younger generation, and that really got me excited about telling this particular story.
You touched upon the cast then. I mean, you had Dustin Hoffman, the great Dustin Hoffman in the first one, Richard Madden, who's been in Bodyguard, which has been doing amazing, and now in this one you've got Daniel and obviously Sean Bean.
Yes.
You can't have wished for a better cast across the seasons, could you?
No, absolutely not. And that's there have been so many things about this job that it's been a dream for me. Being able to work in Italy is such a privilege and a gift. It's a stunningly beautiful country, and if you just look at the show, everything about it, the locations and the costumes and just the huge talent that there is in Italy that you see on screen. But then when we've shown these scripts to actors, we've been able to get, as you said, Dustin Hoffman and Richard Madden and Sean Bean and Daniel Sharman. It's not been difficult to get people to want to do these shows.
And the thing I was saying to some of the cast members is the kind of scale of the production, given that you shoot on real sets in real location and everything, it does add a real kind of rawness and reality to everything. I mean, it must have been great to see that come to fruition, that you weren't on a sound stage for a majority of the shooting.
Yes, one of the reasons I really wanted to do the show was because of its huge ambition, and they said to me, we will shoot this in Italy. We won't go to, so often you go to, Central Europe or someplace where it's less expensive and it's easier. But in this case, because it was Italian television, they wanted to give authentic Italian culture, and you see it and you feel it, the richness of the images. And often what you're looking at when you're looking at our exteriors, often there's no CG. Sometimes there is, but often you're just looking at a village, in Montepulciano or Volterra or Pienza. These are all Tuscan villages where we shot. That's an actual 15th century street that has not changed, in all those years, and we're filming there. It's exactly what Florence would have looked like 500 some odd years ago, and that's very exciting and a rare opportunity.
Just finally, I mean, you've obviously done 3 seasons now. Whether you'll do more, I'm sure you would love to if the story prevails. But is it going to be bittersweet for you now that you've done the 3 seasons, and if that is, the end, that you've spent so much time with these characters that you'll be saying goodbye, but that you've created something fantastic?
Yes, no, it is bittersweet, but I have a great consolation because we're now doing Leonardo da Vinci. So yes, we're writing that right now to shoot in September. So I'll be going to Italy at least for another 2 years, and his story takes place in Tuscany as well. So I'm not leaving yet.
That's good. Yeah. Listen, thank you so much for your time. Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.